Don't you think the enemy could have said to him, you will never be able to fulfill the destiny God has for you because of what someone else did to you? And there are a lot of Christians who believe that. I'll never be able to do what God called me to do because of what that person did to me, or because of what that person did to me. You need to believe you have a purpose. Here's the reason you have a purpose: because you were created by a purposeful God, not a purposeless God. Everything God created, he created for a purpose. There's nothing that he ever created that doesn't have a purpose. Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. Every tree has a purpose. Every animal has a purpose. Every individual human has a purpose. God has a purpose for everything he created. Now, I have to admit, I don't know the purpose for spiders. I don't know that. My wife, Debbie, does not know the purpose for grasshoppers. I'll tell you why, and I'm just going to be like I am every week. You know how people say, I'm going to be honest with you, and you think, well, what have you been being? Okay, well, I'm honest all the time. And sometimes I think people think he might be a little too honest. So we have some land out in the country, and we have a side-by-side. Well, I brought a picture just so you can see if you don't know what a side-by-side is. So it's something you can drive, and that was just one day it was snowing, and we went driving around on our land. And so, but you notice the windshield comes open, and you open that during the summer because it gets hot. But when I take Debbie for a ride, I have to use the truck, a four-wheel drive truck that I have, because she doesn't want to ride in that in the summer because of the grasshoppers. Now, Josh and I just went out there this past week, and we filled deer feeders. Grasshoppers, they hop on men, and we just flick them off. I mean, it doesn't matter. When they hop on Debbie or Hannah or Bridget, they totally freak out. It's like they're being attacked by a gorilla or something. I mean, they go crazy. But for some reason, okay, I'm just being honest, okay? Is that all right? Let me just do it this way. Let me tell you what Debbie calls the grasshoppers on our land. She calls them perverts. Because they jump down her shirt. And I mean, I don't know why. I don't know, but and she just goes crazy, when this happens. It's just something. When James was about 2 or 3 years old, he came to me, and I know she doesn't like crickets, grasshoppers, spiders, insects. I know she doesn't like them. And so James came to me and he said, look, Dad, trit it. Now that's why he pronounced cricket. Trit it. I got to trit it. And so I said, go show your mom. She loves crickets. I was young and stupid, but it was fun. And so he says, Mom, look. And she bent down like this. And he said, trit it. And it went right down her shirt. And James and I got grounded for that. So, okay. But how do you know what the purpose for something is? You know by the way it's designed. So this is how you can discover your purpose is, how did God design you? Because he designed you different than how he designed me. So I brought something with me, and I'm thinking if we look at the design of it, we might be able to figure out what its purpose is, all right? So this is what I brought with me. So I'm thinking if you set this on the ground like this and you back up, you could have a ring toss game. So that might be its purpose. If you take it this way and put it down in the ground, it might be a hummingbird bath, for hummingbirds, it might be that there's something about this that makes me want to do like this. So maybe it's a giant cookie cutter. Are y'all okay? Would anyone here like some cookies for me to make you use this and make cookies for you? Okay. Now, I'm sorry about this one I came up with, but possibly because it has suction, it could be a cap for bald men that won't blow off in the wind. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I know. Okay. Here's the point. We all know what this is for, right? Okay. And we don't need to go into the details. Okay. But the designer had a purpose in mind when he designed this. Is that right? Okay. Your designer had a purpose in mind for you when he designed you. He designed you specifically to do something that would help other people. And your gifts are designed for that. I was the kid that talked in class, and I was the class clown. And look what I do now. So God knows he has a purpose for you. That's what I want you to know. God designed you, and because he's the designer, has a purpose. By the way, we know what this is for. So in the spiritual, if you're a part of Freedom Ministry, this is what you look like. I'm sorry, but that just tells you what I think of demons. All right, you get demons out of people. All right, so number one, believe you have a purpose. Number two, understand that God is in control. This is one of the greatest truths you can understand. This is what Joseph understood, that God was in control no matter what his brothers did. See, the only person who can stop your destiny from coming to pass is you. Nobody else has control over your life but you. You're the only one. When God designed you to do something, you're the only one that can stop it. And you can get off track, and with God, it's so wonderful you can get back on track. But here's what he said, verse 5. He said, God sent me. Don't be angry or grieved with yourselves because God sent me. Verse 7, and God sent me. Verse 8, it was not you who sent me here, but God. 3 times, here's what he told them. God was in control of my destiny. You don't need to be upset with yourself. I'm not upset with you. They sold him into slavery. He became an enslaved person at 17. And then he becomes a prisoner for something that he doesn't do. Don't you think the enemy could have said to him, you will never be able to fulfill the destiny God has for you because of what someone else did to you? And there are a lot of Christians who believe that. I'll never be able to do what God called me to do because of what that person did to me or because of what that person did to me. And I'm telling you, whether it was parents or a pastor, abusive pastor, or a spouse, that person cannot stop God's destiny in your life. You need to know that. God is in control. And we know this scripture when we're talking about purpose, but think about this. Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. He has a purpose for your life, and he's in control. Here's another good scripture. Isaiah 55, verse 10. As the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return to it without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, watch, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. You know what you need to know? God has spoken a word over your life before you were even born. That's what he told Jeremiah before you were even born. Before I even formed you in the womb, I ordained you and I sanctified you for a purpose. I'm telling you, God has a purpose for your life and no one can stop. Do you realize that if you believe that God's in control, you're an optimist? And if you don't believe God's in control, you're a pessimist? I don't know if you ever thought about that. But if you believe God's in control, then you say, you know everything's going to work out for your good. You're an optimist. I don't know if y'all heard about, did you hear about the pessimistic parachutist? So the sergeant said, there's going to be this plane. It's going to take you up to about 10,000 feet. And then you're going to jump out of the plane. You're going to take your right hand, you're going to put it on your left shoulder, and you're going to pull the ripcord. If for some reason the chute doesn't open, you'll take your left hand, put it on your right shoulder, and pull the emergency ripcord. And then you're going to land in a field about 10 miles from the base, and there'll be some trucks there that'll bring you back to the base. So this pessimistic parachutist got on the plane and said to the guy beside him, I'll bet this plane can't even get up to 10,000 feet. Sure enough, it did, so he jumped out. He took his right hand, put it on his left shoulder, pulled the chute cord. It didn't open. He said, I knew it. I knew it wouldn't open. I just knew it. I knew this would happen to me. Took his left hand, put it on his right shoulder, pulled the emergency ripcord. It didn't open either. He said, I knew it. I knew it. And then the last thing that his friends heard him say as he was passing them was, and I'll bet them trucks are going to be late too. So you need to believe that God has a purpose for you, and you need to believe that God's in control.